In this lesson, we'll look at how we can apply multiple materials to single objects. So most likely you'll come across projects where you need to add more than one material to areas of a single object. So we've got this, for instance, this cockpit here, and let's say that we want to have kind of this outer portion of the cockpit, this red material, and then we want to have a different material for the inner part of this grille, or for instance the cylinder here at the bottom. Maybe we want parts of this to be one material and parts of this to be another material. Well, there are a few ways that we can do this. Let's look at one of the quickest ways here. I'm just going to select this object, and let's just hit Alt-Q to go to isolation mode. And we'll go to our material editor. All right. And so one of the ways that we can do this is just to select the sub-objects that we want to have the new material. So for instance, I'll just grab these polygons, let's say, and we can just grab a standard material and click and drag it right onto our selection. Now looking at that, you can see that we now have that gray material applied to that selection. If we want to edit that, you can see that down here under our scene materials, a new material has been created, this material 12. It's a little bit of a different type of material, so let's take a look at that. So we'll drag this into our view here, and looking at this, you can see that it's actually a multi-sub-object material. We've got one material, which is our standard material that we dragged onto it, piped into one of the ports here. We've also got a wire extending down, so we've got move children on. So pulling this out and taking a look at the other material that's connected to it, we can see that it's actually the red material that was applied beforehand. So what's happened is it's taken that red material, it's piped it into a new multi-sub-object material along with the new material that we created. So now this is applied to this object. So part of it is this material, part of it is this material. Okay, you can see a ID associated with each material here. That's telling it kind of where to hook it up or where to apply it. Let's take a look at building this from scratch so we can kind of do it ourselves. So let's go ahead and just get rid of this. We'll kind of reapply our red material. Let's get rid of anything, so we're kind of back to where we started. So to actually set this up on our own, what we want to do is change the material ID. So looking at this object, we've got all of the polygons selected. Let's go into the modify panel. We'll go down to the rollout, down under polygon material IDs, and let's set the material ID to 1. Okay, so it's going to be a little number associated with this particular polygon for the material ID. So this material, if we go to here, this polygon has the same material ID as this one. And there we go, 1 and 1. So what we want to do is set these faces, or whatever polygons you want to be associated with a different material, to a different material ID. So let's first create a sub-object selection of the polygons that we want to utilize here. So let me go ahead and just select through here, and go ahead and go on the other side as well. Just selecting any of those polygons we want to be part of this new material. Okay, and now we're going to change the material ID, and let's just change that to 2. Okay, so now deselecting, you can see this one is 2, this one is 1. Okay, see those numbers change. So now we can actually create our own multi-sub-object material. So in our cockpit view, let's go ahead and we'll go up to standard, and here's our multi-sub-object. Now we'll go ahead and drag this out, and you can see it actually creates 10 new materials that are piped into this multi-sub-object, and you can see that here where we've got a set number and we've got 10 right in here. Okay, we can actually change the default by going into options preferences, and there's a number here, a number of sub-object materials. We can dial this down so that we don't get that many materials when we create our multi sub-object. So I'm going to delete all of them but one. So we've got a single material here. We can also come in here, start to delete these so that we've got only 2 materials, or material slots. And let me go ahead and pull this over, and obviously we're a little bit too far away, so let's move up on this. I'm going to move the existing red material up here. So looking at this, we've got a multi-sub-object material with 2 slots, so 2 places for materials to be piped into. Okay, we've got this gray, which is the one that's already associated with this, the one that's already wired. Right here, we don't have anything associated with it yet. So to pipe in our red into the second slot, we'll go ahead and go from the output to the input. You can see how that drops it right in there. Okay. And so now we need to drop in the multi-sub object. So we still have this material applied. So we'll select, go back to our top level, and let's apply our multi-sub object. Okay. Now, if we take a look at this, it's actually right now reversed of the way that we want it. The outside is gray, so anything with the ID of 1 is being assigned this material. Anything with the ID of 2 is being assigned this material. So it's the reverse of what we would want. So let's go ahead. If I try to set these both the same, you can say we've got duplicate material IDs, so I'll set this bottom one back down to 1. And now we've got it working the way that we want to. So if we go in and change this material, change this diffuse maybe to a blue color just so we can see this, you can see that that material is being applied just to those polygons. So now we can go in and add maps and do anything we want with this material. Let's go ahead and name this something like Pod Cockpit Grill. Okay. And then we can call this Pod Cockpit Main, and maybe just call this Pod Cockpit Multi. Okay, so this is the material that's actually applied, and then it's piping these materials in using this material ID that we can change here. Okay, so that's kind of a manual way that we can do this. Let's try to do it again on the, let's see, the bottom portion here, this cylinder. So I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this, and let's just grab this piece here, and let's go ahead and isolate this. So let's say that we want to again create a kind of a glow behind here. So we want to use that red glow. So I'm just going to go ahead and modify our material ID. So I've just gone ahead and selected a polygon and then shift selected. Okay. And now I want to just go ahead and select all of the polygons in here. Okay. And so what I basically want to do is just select everything that is along this kind of loop here. Okay, so let me go ahead and just pause as I do that. So now I've got these polygons selected. Let's go ahead and change our material ID to something else. And because this is going to be glowing, I want to actually make a specific number for this. So I'm going to just change this to something like 7 so I can remember it. So our material ID for this glowing effect is going to be 7. Okay, so now we've got, this is 3, this is 7. Okay, so I want to go ahead and remove and change all of these pieces that are sticking up. I want to actually go ahead and switch them back to the original. So just the polygons that are behind it. So I'll select all of these, and now I just want to grow the selection. Okay, so one of the ways we can do that is just to go ahead and grow that. Okay, and now I'm going to change this back, the ID back to 3. Okay, so now these are 7, these are 3, it matches up with this. So let's again go back into our material editor. All right, and I think we have our glow. Remember if our glow is in here, but we can drag a copy of it in here. If we go down to our scene materials, go ahead and just drag our glow out, and we'll instance that. Let's create a new multi-sub-object material. Okay, and I'm going to undo that, and actually I'm going to set those preferences down to 2. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and pipe in the glow into one of the inputs there, and then I'll go ahead and sample this material, and so that's going to be this cockpit cylinder. Okay, And so I'll go ahead and pipe that in, and it's going to be right up here. Okay, and that's going to replace this one. Okay, now looking at this, we can go ahead and name this, and we'll call this something meaningful. Cockpit, cylinder, and multi. Okay, now we want the gray to be 3 on the ID and the glow to be 7. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and take this material, and don't forget to actually apply it, the multi-subobject material. And now we have that sort of red glow behind there. So again, these are good ways to go ahead and apply multiple materials to your objects. Make sure you name everything if you don't already have something named, if you're creating new material. Let's go ahead and exit that. So now we have a couple of objects that have multiple materials. We've got this cylinder on the bottom, and then we've got the main part of the cockpit, just using our multi-subobject material. So keep that in mind as you work. The next thing that we want to look at is some of the different kinds of mental ray materials that we might be able to use. We're definitely not going to go into too much depth with that. There are other courses that you can go through that, but we'll look at some of the different options we have beyond the standard materials that we can use. Okay, so we'll look at that next.